I did Davina's hair, and then she really popped off around that time. She got the Big Brother gig. And then I got a job on a movie with Johnny Depp, and I had like a big burst of like doing big movie stars. I did Ewan McGregor and Johnny Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Best celebrity hair?
I also thought I'd just make a terrible boss. You know, like I just thought I don't want to have to hire and fire people. That's just not in my nature. I won't be able to do it, you know. What I noticed about your brother is he was a very famous hairdresser because he had the famous clients.
Yeah.
He had Anthea Turner, which was the most asked for hairstyle in the history of the world.
You seem to have gone through a lot of introspection to come through with, you know, the confidence that you seem to have. You know.
You realise somehow that you are the feelings you have, you know, and that's all you've got in a way. Call it moving lovewards. Forwards and
like
upwards.
that.
It's good, isn't it?
Forwards and lovewards. Welcome back to Heads Together, Series 2. I'm Michael Van Clarke, and we are joined again by Michael Douglas.
Hello. I'm back.
So you've not had your own salon as such. What was that a conscious decision?
Not really. I worked in salons. This salon in Preston called Rafters Hair Studio. It was part of the 365-day hairdressing. Remember all that? Leslie Spears and Stephen Way and all them lot. And he had a Paul Mitchell distributorship. So I worked in the salon, and he said, do you fancy doing a bit of teaching for Paul Mitchell? I've got all these salons in Manchester and that. They all need education. And he'd seen me do a couple of presentations. So I'd do 4 days a week in the salon, a couple of days a week training Paul Mitchell salons. And I just really enjoyed it, really. So I think, and around that time, you know, I won't go into that, but I realised that I liked being able to do different things, just not being in the salon all the time.
Yeah.
I also thought I'd just make a terrible boss. You know, like I just thought I don't want to have to hire and fire people. That's just not in my nature. I won't be able to do it, you know. So I never really saw myself as a salon owner or a salon manager or anything like that, you know. And then when I got the job at Weller, I should tell you this, actually. I got the job at Weller, the Weller studio, and it was quite hard work. And by about 4 or 5 years in, I thought, actually, I want to be a hairdresser again. I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And there was nothing worse than a kind of bored teacher, and I'd turned a bit bored with it all, you know. So I thought about all the salons I would go and work at, and yours was the only one I would go and work at. I remember thinking, of all the salons, you know, I could go and apply for jobs for, you know, John Frieda's and all the rest of it. I remember coming to your salon because we became good friends with Simon, and I just loved your place, and I loved the energy in there, and the ethos and the skill and the professionalism and everything. It really spoke to me. So yours was the only place I was considering working if I was going to ditch Weller. No, I remember it vividly. You know, you had such a beautiful salon. It still is, obviously. And I used to love you coming in to the studio, and you were running courses, you know, with your then wife, and Simon would come in and run courses, and we'd do things together. And I just thought, I'd love to work with you a lot, you know. I kind of missed the camaraderie of it all, you know. And then as we bumbled along and I ended up doing sessions and photo shoots and all the rest of it, I just couldn't get back to the salon. And then I wanted to do the hair in TV adverts. That was a thing. I made a conscious decision to say, I want to do. What I noticed about your brother is he was a very famous hairdresser because he had the famous clients. Yeah. He had Anthea Turner, which was the most asked for hairstyle in the history of the world, you know, and it was his. And I was like, I need a celebrity client with desirable hair, you know. So I'd set this up in my mind that Anthea Turner was a walking advert for your brother, and she was on telly every day. His work was on telly. I wanted my work on telly, you know. So I was like, well, do the hair in TV adverts. Your work will be on telly, and see if you can find a celebrity client, you know. So I went to Weller and said, can I work in consumer products now? Because they shot adverts for the consumer brands, you know, Shockwaves and Silver Crane, Vosine and all that stuff. So so they gave me a job there. And then the first commercial I did was Vosine with Carol Smiley. So she was probably my first kind of celebrity client. Although I'd done all the supermodels at fashion shows, they didn't know who I was, really. I was just trying to get through the hair without them killing me, I did Carol Smiley for Vosine, and then the second advert I did was Davina McCall for Wella Viva On Off in 1999, I think it was, something like that. But that's how I ended up in the world of consumer products, and how I ended up with a celebrity client.
Also, that's celebrity culture.
Yeah. I did Davina's hair, and then she really popped off around that time. She got the Big Brother gig. So as she became famous, and her hair became more and more famous, really, and I got attached to it. And then lots of people would call me up. So I think at the time, she was with an agent called John Knoll, and he had lots of other TV presenters there. I think he probably had Tess Daly and I can't remember who else. There must have been a bunch of them there. Like Danny Minogue was probably around at the time. I did her hair for quite a long time. So the agent would just ring me and say, "Okay, are you free for this job today? Free for that job?" And I just ended up in this kind of celebrity world. And then I'd get Big Brother contestants and all that stuff. Do you remember there was a guy on Big Brother called Pete, and he had Tourette's?
I vaguely remember.
Yeah, he had purple hair. So anyway, John Knoll rings me up and he said, "Look, Pete, who won Big Brother with Tourette's, wants his hair colour in purple. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, do anything for the money back in them days." I was scratching around, But I said, "He's got to come to my house. I've got 2 babies, and my mum is visiting me at the moment. I just can't get out of the house. Can he come to my house in Crouch End?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, So I got the bleach out and the purple and all the rest of it, and he came in the house, and I was like, "Oh, hi," and he said, "Oh, hi," twitching a bit, And I said, "Oh, yeah, Mum, this is Pete, from Big Brother." And she went, "Oh, nice to meet you." And he went, "Yeah, nice to meet you, you fucking cunt," to me, Mum. And I was like, "What the hell?" You'll have to bleep that out, I think, But I was like, "Oh, yeah, Mum, he's got Tourette's, don't worry about it." He was like, "Bloody hell." So I really got immersed in that kind of celebrity culture, even at a low level, celebrity Big Brother and all of that stuff. And then I got a job on a movie with Johnny Depp, and I had like a big burst of like doing big movie stars. I did Ewan McGregor and Johnny Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow and people like that for a very short period of time, and it was super exciting, really good. I loved working on this big movie. It was called Mordecai. It didn't do very well, but it was a proper big Hollywood budget. We shot in LA, we shot here, and, I was right in the mix of it all, that was brilliant. And then, I did loads of celebrities over the years, and it's fascinating. I'm fascinated by celebrity culture. It's such a peculiar thing that once you're in the presence of somebody famous, that you start to feel a bit underneath them in some way. There's a power about somebody popular. And it's been peculiar to go on and marry somebody that's got that status. But I'm fascinated by it, and I'm also an understanding of the very famous artists that have helped me as a an individual. Like I mentioned Bruce Springsteen earlier, but he's been like a little guiding light for me. The words in his songs and the music he's put out and the art that he felt he needed to put out has helped me, in a profound way, I would say. You realise that the value of a celebrity to people, because I've experienced the value of it, So when I look at Davina or something, I see what she means to people. She's a great help to people. So I'm very, very aware of what the celebrity should do with that influence and that power, and it's lovely to see them do nice things with it. Fern Cotton's become a good friend recently, and she has this Happy Place festival, and she's got the Happy Place podcast and all the rest of it. And you can see it's just all about trying to get people to feel better, You realise somehow that you are the feelings you have, and that's all you've got in a way.
Yeah.
So how could you encourage the best feelings that you could, the most amount of time that you could? And if you're a famous celebrity or something, you could encourage that in people. And it's great to see her and Davina and lots of other people do that with their fame. That you encourage it in a loving direction. I always call it moving lovewards. Forwards and upwards.
That.
It's good, isn't it?
Forwards and lovewards.
Yeah. It was somebody else's. I nicked it, Sorry, Peter. Yeah, you can have it, propagate everywhere. But this is quite good. You might be interested in this. So, about every 3 months, I ask myself two big questions. And I forget sometimes, and I'm like, I must do that. So, going to work very early, nobody's there, no music or anything like that, just like a meditation for a bit, And then I say, okay, Michael, what am I currently doing that I should stop doing? And the answer comes straight away. You know what it is?
What?
Well, it might be drinking too much, or not going to bed early enough, or so something that that you're doing that you probably shouldn't be doing. And what a lot of people will do at that is they'll go, yeah, but I like doing that too much, So what else? And that's not the answer. The answer is, whatever the answer is, stop doing it. So that's the first question. The second question is, what am I not doing currently that I should do? And the answer comes immediately. This is what you should do. And those two questions have brought me here, Because as long as you do as you're told, that's the rules, you will get the thing that you deemed desirable. Whatever it is you've said, I want this in the future. You can ask yourself those two questions and it will guide you towards the thing. That's what I've discovered after being alive for 53 years, is that you know what you should be doing and what you're not doing. So do as you're told, watch what happens.
And follow it.
Yeah. But you'll be amazed. It'll blow your mind, But the studio is the type of place I'd go. And
do you ever get mixed messages?
No, so there's this thing which you're aware of called creeping doubt. And there is no certainty without doubt. It's a necessary part of certainty is the doubt, right? So you have an idea or you say to yourself, what should I do next, And it'll say, do this. And you go, okay. And then as soon as you've had the thought, a lot of doubt comes in and will talk you out of it or talk you into adjusting it ever so slightly. Forget the doubt. Leave the creeping doubt out. The answer is the answer. Now get on with it. As difficult as it might be, or even impossible as it might seem, do the thing you know you should do. And don't get bogged down in the doubt. I've thought about that a lot, really, because that is exactly what happens. You talk yourself out of it, The doubt is a necessary part of certainty. Whatever it is you're trying to do, you might not do it. But that is no reason to not do it, We've got a party coming up, me and the missus, to celebrate our wedding. And I want it to be a brilliant day, I want the party to be a brilliant day. So what you could do is leave it to chance and just say, well, everyone will turn up, put on a banging playlist and bingo, hopefully it'll be a good day, Or I could really go all out to make it the best day I could possibly make it to be. Now, it might not be that, but at least I aimed at it, So it's this idea, if you want something, then try hard to make it happen, Don't worry about the doubt, You'll never get rid of it.
You seem to have gone through a lot of introspection to come through.
Yeah.
With the confidence that you seem to have.
Yeah, I think it probably comes with age and comes with raising kids. You've raised some kids, yeah, and then going through a divorce and all the difficulties it is about getting older and realizing that you're now in the latter part of your life in a way, and then what are you supposed to do with all the stuff that you brought with you? What are the things to let go of and all that? So I would say I've been on a big spiritual journey for about the last 5 years to try and discover who it is I really am, And I found myself probably about a year ago properly. I thought I'd done it about 3 years ago, but I realised I just entered into it at that point, But something happened to me, I would say 18 months ago, really, where I felt like a breakthrough, like a spiritual breakthrough, where I could stop pretending, I felt like I'd been pretending for a long time about who I was, And there was something about being a small skinny man, you know, pretending to be a big man. You know what I mean? Like, there's something weird about trying to live in a masculine world by not really having any of the masculine traits to trade off, you know. If you think about all the big masculine traits, you know, their sporting ability, physical strength, size, power, you know, money, all that stuff. You know, I don't have none of those things to play with in a way. And there was something about surrendering into who I was rather than just wishing I was somebody else, you know, that set me free. And falling in love with this little skinny body and being proud of it and happy that it's mine, actually. And in fact, all the great things about me are as a result of having this skinny little body, you know. And so there was something about that. But also, just taking it back to hair a bit, really, was being kind of bathed in feminine beauty as a man. You know, I'm surrounded by women all the time. You know, I'm married to a brilliant woman. I was raised by my mother. And realising that all my great, what should we call it, attributes have come from women, you know. That's where all my power is, if you like, is in the feminine. It's not in any masculine things. We don't have very many of them. But being able to have been a part of helping women love themselves has been a profound experience for me, and I have absolutely adored it, you know. And making women feel good or special, or having access to them to love themselves, is probably one of the greatest experiences of my whole life. And I think being a ladies' hairdresser has just been brilliant for that, you know. It's been a gift, you know.
You do men's hair as well?
Yes, yeah. Just easier, isn't it, men? You're just like, yeah, go on, do that, you know. So, yeah, I've got 3 or 4 male clients, and yeah, just great. I only really do people's hair that I like, you know. So all my clients are mates, really. I love seeing them and spending time with them. I could happily just do their hair for free. I just want the company of who they are, you know. You know, I've got 4 or 5 male clients, and whenever they ring me and say, "You fit me in today?" I'm like, "Yes, please, you know, come," you know. I love it, and they've got really interesting jobs, or they've got interesting lives and stuff like that, and it's just such a rewarding thing, you know. One of my clients is Kate Bush, and I've never been a Kate Bush fan, really. You know, when I was asked to do her hair a few years ago, probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I was like, yeah, sure, you know. I went out to her house and did her hair, you know. And then she asked me back, you know, and I was like, yeah, of course I'll do your hair, you know. And then it turns out Davina's like the biggest Kate Bush fan in the world. Like, I'm the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan in the world. And she's like, look, Kate Bush is my Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then I've entered into Kate's work, you know. Davina's introduced me to all this work. It's actually blown my brains out. So now I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to Kate Bush's house. I can't believe it, you know. And again, you know, it's just that funny little bit. That's my job, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant, you know, to go and sit with this woman for 3 or 4 hours, and we'll eat a curry together, and I'll colour her hair, and we talk about art and music and culture and love and all sorts of stuff. It's just like, oh, what a brilliant thing to do, you know. So none of that stuff's for the money anymore. It's just for the love of the connection with such brilliant people.
Have you always coloured and styled?
Yeah, so I was an all-rounder, you know. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Me? 65.
Bloody hell's bells!
66 next month.
You look amazing. How old's your brother? Is he younger than you?
68.
Is he? He's doing well and all, isn't he?
Good.
Last week. Good genes, your mum and dad. Well done them. What was the question?
You know.
I drifted there. Well, yeah, sorry, that's what I was trying to work out when you
all-rounder.
started hairdressing, yeah.
I started in 78.
Okay, yeah. So, yes, I started, you know, putting on semi-permanent colours and cutting hair and all the rest of it. I was the flat-top guy at the first salon I worked in. So when I was at school, somebody had robbed a barber shop, and they'd stolen some hair clippers, so I bought them for £3 off him. And I started cutting people's hair in the playground, you know. But one thing I loved was doing a flat top.
Right.
You know, I was just brilliant at them. You know, it was just like cutting a hedge, basically. You know, it was just like spike all the hair up. Whoosh. So I was doing a lot of men at the beginning. You know, literally when I was 16, 17, they were like, "Could you cut men's hair?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I can." You know, so I was doing lots of men's hair, and then you know when I was doing women's hair, but I was colour cutting, perming back in those days. A lot of perming. You know. I remember neutralising 17 perms in one morning and thinking,
my
"Bloody
God.
hell's bells," you know. They lost all my fingernails.
When everyone had a perm.
Yeah, including me, you know. So yes, I've always been a bit of everything. And then when I got a job at Weller, you know, I became a technical specialist. So you had to teach colour, perm, you know, styling, and then I did a lot of cutting courses and stuff like that there. But I always saw myself as a hairstylist, really. So if anybody wants their hair coloured now, I say no, he'll have to go somewhere else. I'll do the bit at the end, you know.
But you must have learning that technical side at Weller for perming must have been not long before perming died.
Yeah, quite literally, I would say. Round about 94, we were running perming courses, but literally by the end of 95, there was just nothing. There was nothing happening on perming at all. I'd cut my hair into... I used to look like Michael Hutchence, you know, those curly bob, you know. And I'd cut it all off to look like Paul Weller. Right. I basically just wanted to look like various rock stars, you know, that was the thing. But I realised once I'd cut my perm off, and then I just never permed anyone's hair ever again. It just disappeared, really. And somebody talked me into perming their hair. And she was a really influential stylist, doing mega shows. So in the 90s, I was doing New York, Paris Fashion Weeks, all that, with Lance Lowe, you know, from Shipton, Leighton and Lowe, and Sam McKnight and people like that. So I had a great time in the 90s. But this big fashion stylist who was working with these mega designers said, "I want a perm." And I was like, "You do not want a perm," you know. Anyway, she talked me into it, and I did it, and she hated it, and I never saw her again. And I never worked in Paris ever again after that, you know. I was like, I knew I shouldn't have permed your hair.
I remember in the early 80s when it was really taking off, it was all the rage. We'd get whole generations of families come in, you know, daughter, mother, grandmother, all want a perm.
Yeah.
And you'd look at them and say, "You don't need a perm." "I want a perm." It became like a fashion thing that they had to have a perm.
Yeah. I remember perming someone's hair, and she came back and complained it wasn't frizzy enough. I like it more frizzy, you know. I was like, little yellow rollers on long hair, you know.
First thought that comes into your mind, and the first one is best celebrity hair.
You know, I used to want to do Lena Dunham's hair. I don't know if you know Lena Dunham or not. She had a series called Girls, and I just loved her hair. You know, she had this like wonky fringe up here and then this like shaggy hair down here. So I would love to have done Lena Dunham's hair back in that period of time, and that was the first thought that came into my mind was her.
Interesting.
That and Davina McCall.
Most underrated hairdresser?
Me.
Yeah.
Has anyone else said that?
No,
I don't think they've said me.
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah. Most underrated hairdresser, yeah, it is me.
I think it's a good answer.
That's a good answer, yeah.
One hair trend you'd rather never returned?
No, I love them all.
Frizzy perms, maybe?
I love frizzy hair. Well, that's my job, is getting rid of frizzy hair. I can't really think of one, but probably the flat top. You know, like you just think of the square head. Nobody should have that, you know, unless it's for a joke. Flat top.
Flat top. And then one trend that you think deserves a comeback?
The perm.
The perm.
Yeah, I'd love to see more perms.
Done beautifully.
I would like one, actually. You know, I used to have one back in the day, and I look at pictures of myself back then. Not that I want to be that person again, but I would actually like to make a bit of content where somebody perms my hair. And I did this thing for the One Show once where we went and permed a guy's hair in the Liverpool Anfield dressing room. And we got him to grow a moustache and everything, so he looked like Terry McDermott.
Okay.
And then we permed his hair in the salon that all the Liverpool players used to go and get their perms. And there's this picture of like Kevin Keegan and Graham Souness and all of them sat around, all with perm curlers in. And I loved it. I was like, wow, I'd love to see more of this, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to see perms again, and I would love to get one. If anybody wants to give me a perm, I am totally up for it.
Okay. Trouble is, I found with perming is that once technicians stopped doing enough of them, they lost the sensitivity to do them perfectly.
Yeah.
So you then get problems.
Yeah.
You know, either too tight, too loose.
Are you a perfectionist? You feel like you are. When I watch you work and everything, it's like you're doing sculptures.
Yeah, I quite like to aim for perfection. Never achieve it, but
yeah,
I'd
okay.
like to aim for that.
Because I'm not. I'm this kind of loose guy who would like to see what happens if I tried this, you know. So, you know, like I think if no one's going to perm my hair, I'll do it myself, you know.
That'd be fun.
Brickwork. Yeah, 9 section wide, yeah.
Right. Most memorable photo shoot?
This is so hard. Question. Quickfire. This is slow water, you know. Most memorable photo shoot, yeah. Yeah, okay, great. I've got one. Yeah, so we did this. I was working with Lance Lowe at the time, and we did this fashion show for an Irish designer called Lainey Keogh. And she made these amazing dresses out of mesh, like metal almost. They were brilliant. And the thing we had to do was braid all the hair. So all little cornrows and scalp braids, and almost create like reptilian hair, you know. And I wasn't particularly a braider back then, you know, but literally like 22 hours of braiding, and I was like the best braider in London. But it was a brilliant exercise in getting to learn how to do these things. And we had people like, I remember Sophie Dahl and Lily Cole and people like that, really great models, you know, with peculiar faces, Kate Moss and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, we worked like wild animals, and it was at the Natural History Museum, the great big dinosaur and all the rest of it. And I was just blown away. It was like a mega show. No Instagram back then. If I'd had a bloody Instagram account in like 1997, it'd be like a Kardashian now. But done all this amazing hair. Anyway, afterwards, you know, like you're drinking champagne or whatever backstage. It's like, wow, what a bloody challenge that was. And this old guy comes backstage and he said, "Oh, excuse me, you know, like, who's the hairdresser for this show?" And I was like, "Well, I'm one of them, you know." And Lance came over and all the rest of it. And it was Vidal Sassoon. Oh. And he came out and he said, "It's the best hair of any show I've ever seen." Oh, it was incredible. Well done, you, everyone. I give him a hug, you know. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it, really. So that's the most memorable job I did, really. It was brilliant.
What year was that?
I would say probably 1997, something like that. Yeah, so a long time ago. But I remember it like it's yesterday. It's funny, some memories are just really there, aren't they, you know.
What's the best city in the world for hairdressing?
It feels like London. You know, if you wanted to go a bit avant-garde, you could say Berlin.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard having never really lived anywhere other than London, you know. I think New York's quite cool, and there's some groovy haircuts knocking about. Yeah. But it all feels a bit try-hard for me. You know, there's something about London I just love. And working in Soho and just seeing women wander down the street with, you know, these mullets and short fringes and, you know, air-dried wavy hair and everything. I just love it, you know. Yeah. Brilliant, yeah. London, I'm afraid.
London it is. And your proudest moment?
It's yet to come.
Yet to come. Good.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I sit here, I guess, very proud of myself, you know. I feel really good about what I've managed to do and the things I've achieved, but I'm aware that I've still got somewhere to go yet. So I'd love to come back on this podcast maybe in 3 or 4 years' time and reveal to you my proudest moment, but I think it's in front of me.
Onwards and Lovewards.
Moving Lovewards, folks. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed,
Michael,
for this.
That's been so entertaining.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming along.
And it's so nice to see you again. Thank you.
You too.